Right. Leeds United going to Blackburn, losing 1-0 after a pretty unbelievable performance midweek against Luton Town. We were all sort of a bit buzzing. We were all sort of a bit excited going into this one. I thought it was personally Leeds' performance of the season against Luton Town, man for man. I thought everyone was brilliant. Bristol City now, Millwall, Blackburn today, West Bromwich Albion, Norwich, Sunderland. We're going to be sort of talking about the away form a little bit more on this one, and obviously the game as such, of which, the last away game beating Swansea 3-4 wasn't really convincing whatsoever, to be honest, but we got the win. It could have gone either way, but Dad, is there a little bit of a problem, do you think, right now with our away form? Leeds losing out again, and it's a John Eustace treble win over Daniel Farke with two different teams now.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt, Conor. I mean, I can't believe the performance there when you look at the majestic performance we put out in midweek. It was completely the opposite. Thanks, son. Completely the opposite. It's always a split of opinion, isn't it, when we have games like this? You'll have fans saying, well, it's all the players' fault. Fans saying it's the coach's fault. Well, let's be honest, it's a mix of both. For me, there was a complete lack of coaching ability there. When you look at the performance in the first half, and yeah, that's down to the players, but the players respond to what the coach has asked them to do and go out there and perform on the pitch. It's not worked in that first half. And we called it at half time and said, if he doesn't change this, we're going to have a wasted 20 minutes in the second half where we're then chasing the game. And that's exactly what happened. So for me, yeah, it's the coach who picks the team. He sends them out. He marshals them. There's absolutely no excuse after a performance like we're putting against Luton for us to be turning out that kind of dross today. And what the shame of it all, Conor, it's not just the fact that we've now lost a little bit of pace on Sheffield United, who you said don't look up too much, but at least they're able to grind out result after result after result. Wade's just so inconsistent. It worries me going forwards. And, I didn't think I'd be saying this. In the back of my head, I was a bit worried because our away form hasn't been good at all, like he suggested. But really, with this kind of squad, we shouldn't be experiencing moments like this where we're down in the dumps. You've got 7,500 Leeds fans who are down in the dumps. I'm absolutely amazed at Farke's inability sometimes to be able to read a game and how he needs to change the game to get something more from his players. He just seems incapable of doing that. And I can't help but go back to the Luton game, sometimes thinking maybe he's a lucky coach. I don't know. How well does he set up? I really don't know. And we've seen him at the end there where he spent 5 minutes or so attacking the referee. Now, it was crap, the referee. It really was, and that penalty that he gave was soft, but you could see why he gave it. And then you're getting Farke. To me, that just sums up his own incapabilities at this moment in time. He's trying to cover up his own tracks for the poor job that he's done in sending out that Leeds to perform today. For me, Conor, from that performance, I just saw a Leeds team that I expected to turn up and win.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. I think there's a sort of like a bit of a. We mentioned the away form. I mean, at home, I've mentioned the inconsistencies. It was after the Millwall game, which was a very, very similar performance to that, extremely similar performance to that. Bristol City were trying to hit us on a little bit of transition, and they were tough at the back. They were, they seemed to set up against Leeds United in a very specific way. I think it's extremely risky to rely on your home form a lot, and it feels like it's okay saying, "I will be fine." But you've got to strip out that inconsistency right now, because we're getting to a point right now where we're looking at the result last night and we're thinking, do you know what? With Sunderland losing, with Sheffield United, we can pull away a little bit here. But it's that thing again, isn't it? Like it was at Millwall when we had that opportunity. We go away from home and we just have these performances in us. I mean, to a man, they didn't turn up today. Blackburn fully deserved that win today. Getting the percentages bang on. You were right from the first whistle. They were at it. And they were at it way more than Leeds United right in that game. And it's not acceptable, that.
But why do we see that time and time again? We see a performance like that where in the first 2 or 3 minutes you can see what you're going to get from Leeds for the next 90. You can see it. And there was just no vigour, no motivation, no enthusiasm to go out there and really win the game today. For me, they were just going through the motions. Where Leeds United were going to go to Ewood Park and we're going to win the game without too much effort. That's what that entire performance was about. So why he's not beating them up at half time and he's getting stuck into them and saying that's not good enough, I don't know. Because we get exactly the same kind of effort levels from them as soon as the second half kicks off. So why is it not changing, Conor, at half time? Why is he not mixing it up? Why is he not getting stuck into individual players and saying that performance isn't good enough? And if it's not good enough, why then do you give him a second chance to go out there and put it right? And he does that time and time again. When we're falling down, it's not good enough. He still sticks with the same set of 10 outfield players, and we get more of the same until it gets that 70th minute and he decides to make a substitution. Is completely falling short of the bar that he should be setting himself after a game like we had against Luton. And what annoys me more than anything is you get one of the best performances I personally have seen since the Bielsa times.
We're giving him a lot of credit, after that.
I mean, absolutely nothing now at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon.
So is that the players or is it Daniel Farke then?
It's both, but I'm blaming him more, because he's the man that picks the team, Conor, and he sends them out and he gives them a plan, a coaching plan to go by. That's how those players set up on the pitch, and that's how they play. So I'm blaming him. It annoys me when I see him berating that crap official at the end, because what he's trying to do is he'd cover up for his own inadequacies. That's what he's trying to do. Now, Daniel, you did a great job on Wednesday night. You've done a crap job today, mate.
100%. John says, agree, we had players who look tired out there.
Well, we've just come off a 2-week break, haven't we? How tired should they be?
We've got off a 2-week break. And for me, John, that's an extremely easy, once again, it feels when he loses games, he's got them all stacked in his back pocket when it comes to a deck of cards that he can say, players are tired. We've had certain problems this week. The fact of the matter is Blackburn were better than us today and we didn't deserve to win. Another fact of the matter is you've got substitutions on the bench in Ramazani. You've got substitutes on the bench in Solomon. Solomon, we said at the start of the game, it was quite a controversial decision to bench him. And this is coming from me, who I'm not the biggest fan of Manor Solomon, but you do feel, once again, I personally feel that it was a little bit of a strange decision just on the basis that Solomon, in my opinion even, had his best game the other night, and he was sort of building. Swansea was okay, he was in and out of it, but the other game the other day, I thought he was good, and I mentioned that on the post match review. It was definitely his best game. Sofa score had him at one of the tops. Footmob did as well in terms of but he created 4 big chances. I think it was top of in the whole game basically. So look, I think it's a meritocracy in football, isn't it? You give Dan James a go, but Solomon had performed quite well, I guess.
You know what, Conor? I mean, you must have remembered it when you were a footballer, and you turn in a good performance one week, and then all of a sudden you get to the next game and the coach decides to drop you and start with somebody else. What did that do to you as a player? It doesn't exactly make you feel good about your ability and whether you should be commanding a start in a team. And we know it's a squad-based game now. But Solomon didn't do anything wrong. He did everything right the other night. So why all of a sudden would Farke change it and think, well, I'll tell you what, there's every chance I could demotivate a player here? Or maybe he's looking at the opposite way. Maybe he's thinking when he gets on the pitch, just like Dan James did the other night. Dan James came on the pitch and within moments he scored an absolutely fantastic goal. Maybe he thought he was going to get that from Solomon. I really don't know his psychology. But and to be honest with you, it does go against the grain a bit, because usually Farke's the type of coach that tends to reward players and keep players for good performances. So why he changed it with Solomon and bringing James in, I really don't know. But that was a non-performance from James, just like it was from most of the Leeds team today.
I think we were saying as well, it was very much everybody in the chat who's on at half time, people were saying the exact same thing. This is going to continue. The script of that was very, very similar to what we've seen before. Like Bielsa did, I remember one game, I can't remember which one it was, when he dragged Calvin Phillips off after 45 minutes, and it's a brave approach to be able to do that, because you've got to deal with the player, but also that change that you make has kind of got to work then. Yeah. But I feel with the artillery at this level we've got on the bench now, that made that, there's a likelihood that at least it's going to get incrementally better. The problem is now, and I have to say this with Joseph, with Ramazani, you're going to get fans going, well, they were crap when they came on. But it's a very, very difficult conversation to have, really, because you're bringing these players on, these really young players on with sort of 20 minutes to go. You're not giving them the entire half. We know what Ramazani can produce. Maybe go with the 2 up top. Aronson, I'm going blue in the face saying it. I think you're seeing it more and more. Look, I thought he was probably the worst player Leeds had the other night, even though it was an abundance of very good performances the other night. Again, completely anonymous today, which basically means that for me, we have to start going out wide, because if your central attacking midfielder isn't producing anything, similarly to what Cantwell was doing today, Blackburn were going through him every single time and he was on the half turn. He played well, obviously got his goal, but he should have had a couple more. Aronson's not doing that. He's not doing that. For me, he doesn't have that ability to really get Leeds out of trouble when Leeds aren't playing well. And he doesn't have the ability to really cultivate chance after chance after chance for some of our centre forwards. And ultimately today, that meant that Leeds had to go out wide because Tanaka wasn't having a good game. Rothwell was very ineffective. So Leeds were having to go out wide. So then you're crossing the ball into the box and there's 3 centre-backs just knocking the ball out. And then I think my dispute with it all and my problem with it all is we're not winning the second balls. We're not winning the second balls, and that's a big problem because why Blackburn winning the second balls above us? It shouldn't be happening.
But we were winning the second balls just 3 days ago.
We were.
So why should it be such a big difference? When, on paper, you look at a Luton team, they've just come down from the Premier League. They had probably 6 or 7 Premier League starters. We know they were relegated last year, but they didn't get battered, did they? I can't remember from any particular game, but you still had 6 or 7 Premier League starters against, and compare that today with the Blackburn team, who we know are going to be stubborn. We know from the coach exactly how they're going to set up and how they're going to play against Leeds. They had a game plan, they executed it well, but really, Conor, we should have been on this way more. We can see what we can do against a Premier League team that was relegated. We can see the way we destroyed them the other night. And the way in which we set up today, for me, it was all wrong. Aronson, you've got some very good points to make about Aronson. He's a good runner. He's very willing. He's had a few goals. He's had a few assists this season. So, his stats are there to a degree to support him. But yeah, he's not the technical player we need at this stage to be able to get us through games and to make that difference. I don't know. Maybe Rothwell can play more of the role that he's playing. I don't know with the setup they've got.
Or go out and buy a 10.
But I'll go out and buy a 10 in January. I would imagine that the board at Leeds now, they've probably got a fairly tight control of the purse strings. We know that. But I think there's going to be a few jitters in the boardroom now. And maybe this is the kind of result that we're getting. And we're showing it now in repeat performances away, where they may be thinking we do need to solidify this squad in January. Because if we don't, it's going to be really nip and tuck come the end of the season, Conor. We're not going to be running away with this. I said before, it's probably the teams that finish above Leeds are going to go up. I don't change my opinion on that. But whether we're going to be one of those, I really don't know. It should be out of question. This, we should be one of those 2 teams going up automatically this year. That kind of performance worries me greatly, and it's happening too often away from home.
Yeah, and in the second half as well, when Leeds are supposed to come out and at least be, the sort of dominant team and getting back into it, they had obviously Leeds had a fair bit, to be honest with you, but still you're looking at the total shots. Leeds had 75% possession. They had more expected goals than is still in the second half. Obviously, Cantwell missed 2 big chances, didn't he? Total shots, 6 for Blackburn, 7 for us. Between us, 2 shots on targets, but Blackburn had the 2 big chances and 2 big chances missed in that half. So still, when we have to get back into the game and you kind of have to change things up a little bit because that first half team performance wasn't good enough, as I keep saying, he didn't enact the changes. So I'm with you for this one. I do blame him because it's very easy to blame the players. I think it's easy to blame the players consistently. But if the players are having an off day, it's up to you with the stuff that you have on the bench to be able to enact that change. You're paid that big money. You got Norwich out of the division twice. You've got that's the problem. These away performances are a massive issue. They're a massive, massive issue because, like we said, we won that Swansea game, Dad. We won that Swansea game, but we weren't good enough. It wasn't a good performance from Leeds. It could have gone either way. We won it, but then you look at the catalogue of away performances. I think, what of the good ones? Sheffield Wednesday, 2-0 away.
Well, that was a comfortable performance, wasn't it? And that's really that's been the only one really of note this season where we've won it comfortably away from home. And you might go back to the Sunderland game where we had 75% of the game. Well, how much have we got there according to possession? 78% of the game.
78.
Yeah, and we still come away 1-0 lose. I mean, this possession nonsense, based on stats, where it appears that you're running the game. I mean, that clearly doesn't tell the tale of the tape. Doesn't tell it at all because they were in easy street the whole game. Blackburn, it was so easy for them. We're predictable, and Daniel, you've got to look at yourself, mate. You've got to look at yourself in that mirror and say, is that good enough for me as a coach?
Yeah, well, I guess just touching on the players as such, I thought the front 4, I thought it was probably Tanaka's poorest game. I thought it was a fantastic tactical plan by them. Every time he had the ball, they were hounding him, they were on him. But I felt in possession as well. we were risk averse today, weren't we, Dad? It felt like we weren't really getting the ball and moving forward a lot of the time. It was lethargic. It was side to side. It was back to melee too often than not in terms of pressing on. Having that sort of I don't know, the arrogance and the ego that we should have with our forward players. And I thought the forward players, to a man, were all poor, and that even includes the substitutions who came on. I don't want to touch on this too much, but I just want everyone in the chat, and just obviously you, Dad, let me know, what is he when he's making the substitutions? And this is why I keep coming back to Farke. What's he doing bringing Patrick Bamford on? I have to say this isn't this because it's not just Patrick Bamford's fault. Of course, it's not, and we have to say that this performance isn't down to Patrick Bamford, but it's more the reason as to why. Like, what is behind him doing that? He's bringing Patrick Bamford on, who outwardly is pretty much probably going to be leaving the club, let's say in January, or I don't know, next summer or whatever. You've got a young lad on the bench. Obviously, look, I know people are 50-50 split on him, but you can change it. You can put two up top. You can do something a little bit different. You bring maybe Joseph on in the 60th minute, or give him 45 minutes at least. Brings him on in the 82nd minute, and he's putting Pat Bamford on. And I cannot understand, when you're looking at that game state, what would he be able to do to infiltrate proceedings a little bit more than Joseph or whoever?
It's not just that, but what kind of message does it send out to Matteo Joseph? Well, I mean, all of a sudden, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's not starting games. The lad's coming on for the last 15, 20 minutes. He's not really getting any proper run time in a game, any playing time to really, make an influence or impact on the game. We've spoken about this before. Is Matteo Joseph good for 70 minutes, or good or good for the last 20? I think Joseph is better, and we bring Perron for the last 20. That was working out in the first sort of quarter of the season where Perron's notching those goals, and we know he's been a regular contributor in terms of goals scored. But Bamford coming on, Conor, he shot his bolt at Ellen Road as far as I'm concerned. I really can't. And then the guy cannot take a challenge. He gets a knock into the side of his head. An important time of the game is there, fanning around on the floor, stroking the back of his head, slowing get off the pitch, mate. You're making no contribution. You're slowing proceedings up. We need to be getting on with the game. We don't have a lot of time left. We need to score a goal. We need to ideally score 2 goals. And the guy is not a positive contribution to the team. So I don't know.
He hasn't been for a while.
I don't know where Farke's coming from with this, Conor. It's almost like he doesn't know what he's doing, as though he doesn't have a proper plan, Farke. It's like, I'll turn around, I'll see what players are sat behind me on the bench, and I'll just throw them on the pitch. And that was the same with Joseph. There were three players came on, and we know who they were, and Joseph wasn't one of them. And then he could still see it wasn't going right on the pitch. Still nothing was happening. So he looks over his shoulder. Oh, yeah, he can play up front. I'll chuck him on for the last 5 minutes. It almost seems that kind of approach from Farke for this particular type of game. And it's not just this game, Conor. It's consistently games like this away from home. And I'm just thinking, does he really think through this? Does he have a coaching plan in place? I'm not too sure anymore.
What would you say if people would say to you, look, we were top of the table after Luton? Yeah, how do you? Because then Farke's got us the top of the table. That's devil's advocate, isn't it?
Absolutely. And again, there'll be lots of other fans from other clubs laughing at us now.
Well, they're on the chat now,
particularly in the Championship, and saying, "Hang on, look at where you are in the league." Yeah. But we were a Premier League team 2 years ago. Just 2 short years ago. We've got riches of talent in our squad. For me, this is a better team and a better squad than Farke had last year, and we lost some talent. So that's why me and you are a little bit despondent right now, and I'm talking the way I'm talking. And it's not out of arrogance. It's not because we're called Leeds United. It's because I see a coach not really making the best of the squad that he's got at his disposal.
Is that what it is for you now?
The people and the board members and Parag at the moment are looking at this, and they're feeling slightly nervous, irrespective of where we are in the league, because as we know, we're not going to go up through the playoffs. We know that. We don't do that. So we need to be winning away games, and we need to be turning around this form.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're all good. No, I agree. I think it's one of them where it's just It's that away form. I think that's big. We'll just get in a couple of chats.
Yeah.
Liam says Eustace did other twice last season.
Yeah,
did him another twice this season. Farke's learned nothing. Away form won't get us promoted. Get him gone. We won't go with that. I think the thing with Liam's always quite consistent with that. I think the thing is with it, I think fans are getting a bit frustrated as what you've said. You know, the squad capability. And we can go through the forwards and we can go through the array of talent that we've got. Obviously, they'll be keeping an eye on this. The San Francisco 49ers, they'll have to keep an eye on this because there's so much pressure on this season. And that's why a lot of it is very much, I think sometimes it is largely frustrating when you do hear the old adage of, we'll be fine, we'll go up. I mean, I'm very much like that. Before they get the game last night, the Sheffield United Sunderland game, I was very bullish. I was saying, look, and I do genuinely think, look, we've come up against both sides and we're much better than both of them. But it's
Conor, they're much better against other teams than we are.
This is the point. I
know we are where we are, but they're still getting wins against teams that they would expect to get wins against, and this is their away performances as well.
Yeah, and this is the exact point. You know, if you Leeds and look, we know with Sunderland they've dropped off a little bit, but Burnley are going to be there. We know Burnley are going to be there because they concede no goals, so they're going to be there or thereabouts as we are as well. But I think the problem with us right now is, you know, you play home and away, don't you? You play home and away. And I do look at some of the games that, you know, Leeds might have coming up this season and away from home. And I look at, you know, we've still got to go to Borough, just Coventry with Lampard, you know, just the Burnley.
Luton are going to be a different animal down at there.
Luton are going to be a different animal. And this is the problem now. We're looking at these sorts of games and you can't just turn around and go, oh, we'll be fine. Because that argument is getting less and less valid right now because throughout the season, we're showing that away from home. We've had star performances this season, haven't we? Had Coventry, Sheffield United, Luton, all of those, all of the, you know, the common theme there is they've all been at home. You've got to, and our defending away from home, it's nowhere near as solid. It's nowhere near as solid. Teams are getting in behind us way too much.
You know what, Conor? You can see Stoke away, can't you?
Yeah.
You're looking at Stoke away where Burnley are today, and let's see how Burnley do today. You know, do you reckon Burnley are going to go down to Stoke today and get a 1-0 win? I can see it, can't you? Then all of a sudden they jump above us, and you've got the two relegated Premier League teams occupying first and second positions. You know, and we're not far away from Christmas now. You know, and really, I'm massively upset at this performance. I'm really putting it down to our coach. It's just unacceptable. It's not good enough. We should be performing way better than we are. It's absolute dross, Conor. We shouldn't be in this position. I'm very, very, very upset with that today.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it as well is like everyone was saying at the start, it's not this God-given right. It's not the arrogance or anything like that. It's the fact that Leeds have invested so much money into this squad. You look at the money that we've invested into this squad and what the 49ers have put in. We're top of the division. So normally that plays out on paper. People say football's not played on paper. Well, a lot of the time it is. You know, you look at all the top teams in the world, they spend the most money. So it is a lot of the time. So when you're coming up against the Blackburn today, when you're coming up against John Eustace today, when you've come up against him 3 times in the Championship, when he's had 2 inferior teams, you shouldn't be getting beat 1-0 3 times on the bound, 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 times on the bound. This bloody thing. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, this is a mic that I'm not familiar with using, but yeah, Archer said we really need to think about the new manager. The squad is good enough to be the city of the Championship, but he can't do it consistently. And I think that's the thing as well, isn't it, Dad? It's the fact that we know how good this squad is. We know how good this squad is, and I think for maybe people to be diminishing how good this squad is giving Farke a little bit of an excuse. I think, look, I wouldn't be, this isn't a Farke out thing. I think the players should have been better today. I think to a man, none of them stood up really.
Yeah.
And you've got to say that we've got to look at the fact that the players are culpable as well. And there was too many off performances today. But I think the reason we're talking about Daniel Farke is he has the opportunity to change things with the artillery he has on the bench. He has the ability to change things. And I think the frustrating thing me and you found during that game, and a lot of people did watching us, was the fact that it stays the same for so long, and then it's almost like a last minute panic.
So, I mean, let's just play devil's advocate then, Conor, because I'm not advocating for a Farke exit. You know, I'm just very upset the professionalism is showed in setting this team up for this game today. You know, that's happened on a few occasions this season. But if we were to bring in a new coach right now, you know, or December or January, if we were to do that, do you think a new coach would be able to turn the results around, you know, improve our away performances and get into that position where we are going to be first or second come May time? Is that enough time at this stage, you know, to bring in a new system of play, a new system of work, new ideas, to be able to turn it around within this time so that we are in that first or second spot?
It's really hard because you know, you get all the normal people, you know, saying it's too reactionary and all sorts of stuff. We hear this all the time on YouTube, and there'll be a set group of people who'll be saying, "Oh, people who say this are idiots and reactionary," and all this sort of stuff. And you can tell we are quite calm. We're frustrated by the result, but from a logistical standpoint, I just don't know who else we would bring in right now. So
would you be advocating for a change right now?
No,
on the way it's going.
No, I don't think. I know what you mean. I think he's got serious. I think he's got flaws as a manager. I think that people inflate his man management too much. I think his substitutions have been shown to be poor. But I did think against Luton, I thought he got a few bits right. I thought Byram doing what Byram was doing. I thought it was really good how he kind of turned into a bit of an attacking midfielder, and Strout just covered that. And we almost looked at that left-sided centre back and left back spot as almost like, well, we can deal with that. They're not offering anything down the right, so we'll put Sam Byram in an attacking midfield role. I like the fact that every time Joe Rothwell seems to get the ball, it's a trigger for players to get in certain sequences and movements. I think Tanaka's made such a massive difference. I actually think Aronson's more of a fall guy. I think Aronson's just the body there, and a lot of the creation actually comes from Tanaka in terms of our play. I think that's a ploy by the manager. But once again, it all comes back to who gives a crap. If the results aren't consistent, home and away, the team is going to struggle to just get promoted on home form. And this is the thing now, the overriding thing now with Leeds is it has to be promotion this season. And for people to tell you to calm down all the time and don't be reactionary, it's not the fact that we're saying Farke's this, Farke's this, Farke out. But there is a real problem, I think, when you've got this calibre of team. And Bristol City, as I keep mentioning, we're going to go through these results again. Norwich 1-1, Sunderland 2-2, West Brom 0-0, where we didn't do anything. Bristol City 0-0, Millwall 1-0, Blackburn 1-0. This has got to be better. And as I said to you earlier on, Dad, I can think of, was it Cardiff we played this season, isn't it? Cardiff and Sheffield Wednesday. And you look at those two teams right now away from home. I mean, they're absolutely tripe, Sheffield Wednesday and Cardiff, aren't they? You know, in this division. And yeah, we've beaten them away from home, but that's been it. Really, I think the season. So it's got to be better.
It really has to be better, Conor. You know, and there's absolutely no excuse for it. I'm sorry, but there isn't any excuse for that level of performance. You know, the players have got to look at themselves, but ultimately the manager's really got to look at himself and ask himself, was that good enough from Daniel Farke's point of view today? From my team to us to get at least a point, we should be getting 3. That's what we should be looking at in terms of the players and the squad that I've got. He's got to be looking at himself very, very hard and saying, you know, what do I need to do as a person to turn this round away from home? Because I think we just turn up at Ellen Road, Conor, and it's a given. We've got 35,000 people behind us. You know, all we need to do is
different Leeds. Just feels like a different Leeds, doesn't it?
Step it up a bit at Ellen Road, and you know, we can't. You never take results for granted, ever. But it seems like at Ellen Road, you know, all we need to do is turn up and put in a certain level of performance, and we've got the win. You know, and maybe that attitude carries forward into these away games. You know, all we need to do is put in a certain level of performance, and we get the win. Well, clearly, it's not happening, and he's really got to be looking at himself, because I'm telling you, there'll be board members there right now that won't be happy with this.
Mark said it's not about Farke in or Farke out. It's the same patterns emerging as last season. How about an apology to the 7,500 there today?
Absolutely, mate.
Absolutely. Gutless performance.
You know, is he going down there and apologising? It's all right, you know, going at Ellen Road at the end of the match and going down and giving it the big I am and all this, and won't be fantastic. I'm not accepting all that moaning at the referee at the end, because that's just covering his own inadequacies today. And we've had fans, we've spoken about, who've travelled thousands of miles to watch that game today, and fans that have just travelled 30 or 40 miles over the Pennines to watch that. They were the same fans that were down at Swansea last week, plus more. And that wasn't a performance to be proud of. We came away with the 3 points. This is even less of a performance, and they should be absolutely apologising for that.
Do you think there's it feels like, we're talking maybe the other night about there not being a press to really do something in January heavily anyway. You Brendan Aronson, maybe he'll just be coveted by the fact that Tanaka's getting involved in the creation. You're getting Ramazani, who's coming back. Obviously, we have to say he's not fully back yet, so that's going to be a big plus. But what do we need to do in January, Dad? It feels like I thought today was going to be maybe a performance of which you were going to. It was maybe we're going to build on Luton. We're going to see our away performance, build on the last away performance, and we're going to get a couple of wins or whatever. And but it does feel like there's maybe a few similar problems away from home, and that's what
I really don't know, Conor, because as fans, we're always wanting players in, aren't we? We always want more riches for sure. That's a natural thing. But when you look at it from the board's perspective, they're going to be saying, look here, we did lose some very good players in the summer, but we've actually brought in players that have enhanced this squad. And really it's a bit of an excuse, and really underlines coaching inadequacy, I feel, as if we have to go out there and look for better players to improve this squad. He should be doing way better with this squad than what he's doing at this moment in time. Absolutely fantastic at home, but that's not always going to, we've lost one game at home already this season. So, we've got the potential for doing that again. But he should be getting more out of this team on a regular basis. We're not consistent enough. We know that's happening away from home. Obviously I'm going to welcome any new additions to the squad that's going to improve the quality. But how is he going to play? How's he going to integrate any new player into this squad, Conor? That's going to take time to do that and to get them used to the new systems of work. I'd accept it. I'd accept new players. I'd accept a new creative midfielder. I'd accept a new goalkeeper. I'd accept a new forward. Of course, we're not going to turn that down. But really, he should be getting what he needs out of this squad for us to be comfortably in front in this league.
Well, I think as well, we have got to look at, I think, one name today, to be honest with you. And I think we should be expecting a little bit more of him for the reasons of which we've spoken about when we've been glowingly talking about him being the best player in the Championship. I think we've got to start seeing a little bit more from Willian Yon. So I think we have to. I think a game like today, I think we saw moments last season where Somerville drags us out of it. I think maybe, like your likes of Rutter, in terms of just maybe his assists and his, beating of 3 or 4 men. Nonso, even before Ramazani and Tanaka coming in, I still think is there's an argument he's Leeds' best player. He's got a massive chance today to put Leeds 1-0 up and change the whole foresight of the game. I think his percentages today were off. You were seeing him just fall down a little bit and writhe around. You've seen him being maybe a little bit more petulant than normal. We've got to start seeing a little bit more from him. For me, I understand he's done okay for Leeds, Dad, but we were at the start of the season saying he's got to be hitting 15, 20 either goals, assists at some point. He's more than good enough to start, and I just don't feel at the minute Willian Yon he's turning up consistently enough.
I'll be surprised if he gets into double figures, Conor, with goals this season. How he's missed that one-on-one with the keeper, the early part of that, I just never know. Again, it's just having a bit more football now, and I suppose it's easy to forget sometimes how young these players are. And that's no excuse, but it's like building up. It's like building up your air miles, isn't it? And your driving experience. You've got to be out on the pitch, and you've got to have playing time on the pitch to build up your experience and your nouns. And sometimes it's just not there for Nonso. I mean, why he would be in a position like that and he'd actually smash the ball through the centre part of it, which, you do that, Conor, you're going to lose some aspects of control when you actually smack the ball like he did in a situation like that. He comfortably had enough time to take the ball on for another yard or two and place it past the keeper, either to the right or the left. It's just bad choices at the right time, just making bad choices.
But it also
need more.
We do, because James, I think with Aronson, I think with Peru, I think a lot of it you'd maybe expect that, but with Willian Yon, I mean, like you say, he's got the whole goal to aim at, and he's just smacked the ball at the keeper. The standards that his standards are supposed to be up there has to be better. I just think he has to start dragging us through games a little bit more.
And you could just say, I mean, just 7 days ago, Conor won the game for us, didn't he? Right at the death, and he'd not been on the pitch very long, So it was very cold. He came on, he won the game for us. But yeah, he needs to be doing that consistently. That was a dreadful miss. It's inexcusable. If he scored that goal, would have come away with at least a point today. And I agree with you. We need to see more. He needs to be stepping, even though he's a very junior player, he's a young lad. He's in terms of talent, he's one of our senior players, isn't he? And he needs to be stepping up to the mark more. We're going to accept Rich's, Conor, if they come our way in January. But again, I keep on going back to Farke. I'm very upset at the way he's just coached this whole effort today, because it's been a non-effort.
Well, that's been it from us, guys. Listen, it's not a good day, is it? Not a good day. Let's hope that Burnley, I don't know, lose, but it's 0-0 at the minute at half time. Obviously, you forget Leeds kicked off early. It feels like we kicked off at 3 and it's about 6 o'clock now, doesn't it?
Feels like that.
But guys, really appreciate you stopping by. As I say, if you just joined, make sure you're slapping a like and watching it from the very beginning. It's not been a good day for Leeds. Leeds lose, but let's hope
there's always next week.
There's always next week. But as I say, this has been a bit of an analysis on the away form, but the game as well, guys. Don't take it too seriously. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in a bit. Cheers.